Hey, welcome back, modelers. So today I've got a little bit of something special. Got a cool thing for Christmas. Got into the world of sci-fi, which, if you've seen a lot of my video lists, a lot of everything in there is very much aircraft related. So me getting into kind of the sci-fi, almost like mecha world and everything, pretty different, right? So what I have here is the Maschinen Krieger Grosser Hund. If I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know. But just an amazing pleasure to build. This was a pretty dang cool kit. I definitely wanted to do something different than what I've been seeing on some of the other videos, some of the other builds, and did not worry about accuracy at all. And to be honest, I don't know much about the Maschinen Krieger universe and how I guess you have a designer that's Japanese and then the subjects are German or something. That's about all I really know. But I wanted to do, well, maybe in the future you have that some of these are then supplied to the US. So I wanted to put in US markings. And what's more US than putting into the digital camo? So I put in that, which I'll talk about in a sec. We got into US markings that are decal. We get into our rank insignia on whatever plate you're going to call this. I guess the groin plate for this guy. And then I want to do 101st Airborne for the unit that it's being attached to, I guess, and supporting. So I wanted to start with that and then just not use really any of the kit decals. All of this is for the other parts is either going to be a mask or just stuff that I had lying around. So there's a little bit of a coolant right there, or a radiator armored right there. And then for S5, I was thinking it's a scout unit, I guess. So it's scout unit number 5. And then more of just kind of, I guess, Liberty. This is technically Air Force font, but whatever. It's close enough and it looks pretty cool. So that's going to be its serial number that we have on there. So that's where I have it for that. So let's talk about the paint. As to be honest, the build was just awesome. It just went together. There wasn't a lot of drama. The way they use a lot of polycaps and stuff, you can pop things apart and put them back together. It was drama free. But with the paint on this, the way that I did it is I first did sand yellow, let's see, AK real color. I pulled the exact color for it, but it's the standard for just modern US Army vehicles. So I used that for the base sand color. And then I went in and I made some masks on my silhouette, which when you look at this, oh my God, how long did it take you to build it? Not very long, actually. What I did is I just found a digital camo scheme pattern on Google Images, took that, and I used the trace tool, which if you guys want, there's a video that I have showing you how I use the Silhouette Studio to trace those. And that's it, really. So I just traced that pattern, and there's my stencil. So I peeled that puppy off, and then after I've got the base coat on there, let's see if I can even match up some of these, but basically just put the stencil on and just sprayed each individual color. Easier said than done. I mean, that process was probably about 5 hours total doing all of that. So it did take quite a while to do there. So I did that for both the green and the brown. And I believe I did the green first and the brown. And the way that I did that is actually had 2 stencils, so one for each color, because once you start using this, it starts to get a little bit gummy with all the solvents and everything that's going on with it. So that's how I did the digital camo. It was actually more simple than you think once you have a silhouette that makes the mask for you. Super easy. If it was a different color, the other way is we could kind of do the inverse of it and take these and then cover up the green and then paint the yellow, but I definitely wanted to work from lighter to darker. And so that's how I did the digital camo scheme on there. When it comes to weathering on this, did a lot of different take weathering, but took some liberties with a few other things. With the hand, just flat black and then a ton of graphite pencil over that to give it kind of that metallic sheen, and a few parts putting in, maybe you can see in the palm, a little bit more of actual metallic paint to give that metallic chipping, fresh chip kind of freshly used kind of look from there. So I used that, and I used a lot of graphite pencils for everything else to kind of give it a little bit of that sheen. If I put this into a show, I might even touch it up a little bit faster. I mean, more recent, because for some of the graphite, it kind of looks really good at first, but then it kind of settles down and gets kind of worn into it. But that initial sheen can look pretty awesome. So I might even like put in some fresh stuff right before I put it out for the judges, something like that. So I got that. So graphite pencil, a bunch of places wherever it's going on there. Oh, and I forgot. I did what you guys are probably going to say is a standard technique, but on all of the different plates, I used Mr. Surfacer 500, and I just used a cheap brush and just stippled it all on to give it this texture. After it after it dried, I grabbed a knife and made some of these scrapes in here, and then filled in the scrapes with that graphite pencil as well. And then you have some different things where the texture is even a little more rough on these kind of knee pads, or whatever part of the robot is you would call that. I'm going to call it the knee, even though the structure of how it bends is pretty weird. Anyway, with the scrapes on there and just kind of rubbed it in, and it just kind of sunk into some of the scratches and kind of gave it that dirty look, and turned out really well. So I really like that. And initially with these scrapes too, there's a few pieces that I want to make it a little more shiny. So I put in some actual chipping color to make it a little bit more contrasty than what it was. From there, use some other stuff for like fresh engine grease in some of the joints. Here you can tell it has a little bit more of a sheen in the joints. And I wanted to have that where there's definitely some oil going on with that joint. And you can kind of see with some of that. Beyond there, also got to have a little bit of rust when you have some metal. And the bolts that are on these are a paramount place to put this. So I got in, where's the best example? On this groin plate. So I just put in just some really thin orange oil in that, and just kind of let it sink into those joints a little. And so you have that, some other parts like right in here. And man, see, this thing's just falling apart on camera. That's horrible. But that actually helped me show you some of these other details. Technically, I planned that. With here, you can see a little bit more rust, and then you get into some of the rust streaking down with that oil right there with these bolts. So that worked out pretty well with the rust tones. Beyond that, if it's got a digital desert scheme kind of thing, well, it's probably... I swear, I didn't plan this. There you go. This guy's just falling apart on me. Swear. Not the Hasegawa's fault or whatever. It's my fault. But anyway, so with that, I've got some dust effects from ammo. And for that, instead of brushing it on, I airbrushed it on to give it just a nice little kind of dusting effect where you just have a little bit of that sand just sticking to it. And then what I think I'm going to do after looking at this a little bit more is I'm going to have some actual sand pigments and put that more to the feet to make sure that it looks like he's been walking around, I guess, into the sand. So that's about it. Let's see. Nothing else was anything that's probably noteworthy. But if you notice anything in the chat that you want me to go over more in detail or set up some kind of tutorial, let me know. But it really just came down to I used a lot of stuff that I use on tanks and kind of figured it's a futuristic tank is my mentality with this when putting it together. But a lot of it is just kind of standard armor techniques to get this guy built. See, it just keeps falling. But that's my bad. So let me know if there's anything that you want me to go over and specifically with this guy. But until next time.